Restart your life before 2026. If you feel lost right now, you're not broken. If you feel tired, unmotivated, or stuck in the same routine, it doesn't mean you failed. It means something inside you is asking for a reset. Most people think a restart requires a new year, a new city, or a dramatic event. They wait for January. They wait for motivation. They wait for a perfect time. That perfect time never comes. Because real change does not start with time. It starts with decision. And right now, before 2026 ends, you are standing at a rare moment. Not a moment of pressure, a moment of clarity. You already know something isn't working. You feel it when you wake up tired even after sleeping. You feel it when days repeat without meaning. You feel it when weeks pass and nothing changes. That feeling is not laziness. It is awareness. Your life is asking you a question. Are you going to repeat or restart? Most people repeat because repeating feels familiar. Even if it hurts, familiarity feels safe. Restarting feels risky. It feels uncomfortable. It feels uncertain. So people delay. They say, I'll fix my life next year. I'll start when things calm down. I'll change when I feel ready. But readiness is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid responsibility. You don't restart your life because you feel ready. You restart because you are done repeating. Before 2026 ends, you don't need to become a new person. You need to stop being the version of you that survives instead of lives. Let's be honest. You've tried motivation before. You've watched videos. You've promised yourself change. But motivation fades because it's emotional. Restarts succeed when they are structural. A restart is not about doing more. It's about doing different. Different habits, different standards, different conversations with yourself. Right now, your life is running on old programming. Wake up, scroll, work, get tired, repeat. The days blend together. The years pass quietly. And one day, people wake up and realize they didn't choose this life. They drifted into it. This is your interruption moment. Before 2026 ends, you can interrupt the pattern, not by changing everything at once, but by making one honest decision. I will no longer live on autopilot. That decision alone changes your direction. A restart does not mean quitting your job tomorrow. It does not mean leaving everything behind. It does not mean dramatic moves. A restart means reclaiming control. Control over your time. Control over your attention. Control over what you tolerate. Right now, you tolerate too much. You tolerate routines that drain you. You tolerate people who keep you small. You tolerate thoughts that limit you. You've normalized exhaustion. But exhaustion is not normal. It's a signal that your life needs redesign, not escape. Most people think restarting life means adding discipline. In reality, it starts by removing friction, removing habits that steal your focus, removing commitments that don't align, removing self-talk that keeps you stuck. You don't need a better personality. You need a better system. And systems can be rebuilt. Before 2026 ends, you have enough time to create momentum. Not perfection. Momentum. Momentum comes from small wins stacked consistently. One habit adjusted. One boundary set. One promise kept. These don't look impressive at first, but they compound. The version of you 6 months from now will not be created by one big action. It will be created by what you repeat daily. This is why now matters. Waiting until 2026 arrives gives your old patterns permission to stay. Starting before the year ends sends a different message to yourself. I don't wait for calendars to change my life. That message is powerful. It builds self-respect. And self-respect changes behavior naturally. When you respect yourself, you stop negotiating with excuses. You stop betraying your own plans. You stop postponing what matters. A restart is not about becoming extreme. It's about becoming intentional. Intentional with your mornings. Intentional with your energy. Intentional with your focus. Right now, your attention is scattered. You consume more than you create. You react more than you choose. You survive more than you design. A restart flips that. You begin asking better questions. What actually matters this year? What am I willing to let go of? What kind of life do I want entering 2026? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are necessary. Because comfort keeps you repeating. Discomfort pushes you forward. Before 2026 ends, you don't need a new life. You need a reset in direction. Direction is more important than speed. Even slow movement in the right direction changes everything. This is not about pressure. This is about permission. Permission to stop repeating old mistakes. Permission to outgrow old versions of yourself. Permission to restart without guilt. You are not behind. You are early in your next chapter, but only if you choose it. And in the next segment, you will understand why feeling stuck is actually the signal that a restart is possible, and how to use that feeling instead of fighting it. Segment 2. Why feeling stuck is the signal that a restart is possible. Feeling stuck is uncomfortable. It feels heavy. It feels frustrating. It feels like life is moving, but you are not. Most people hate this feeling so much that they try to escape it. They distract themselves. They stay busy. They scroll. They work more. They sleep less. They do anything to avoid sitting with that feeling. But here is the truth. Most people never realize. Feeling stuck is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that something is ready to change. You only feel stuck when your current life no longer matches who you are becoming. If your life truly fit you, you would feel comfortable. You would feel engaged. You would feel aligned. The discomfort you feel now is not weakness. It is misalignment. And misalignment is the starting point of every real restart. Think about it. You never feel stuck when you are growing. You never feel stuck when you are learning something meaningful. You never feel stuck when your actions match your values. You feel stuck when you are repeating a life that no longer represents you. That is why this feeling appears quietly and grows louder over time. At first, it shows up as boredom, then as fatigue, then as irritation, then as emptiness. People often mislabel this as laziness or lack of motivation. It is neither. It is awareness knocking. Your mind is telling you, this version of life has expired. But instead of listening, most people argue with the feeling. They say, I should be grateful. They say, others have it worse. They say, this is just how life is. Those sentences don't solve the problem. They bury it. And buried dissatisfaction does not disappear. It leaks into energy, health, and confidence. This is why people feel tired even when they rest. Why weekends feel short. Why Mondays feel heavy. It's not the work alone. It's the direction. Direction matters more than effort. You can work hard in the wrong direction and still feel empty. You can move slowly in the right direction and feel alive. Feeling stuck means your inner direction has changed, but your outer life has not caught up yet. That gap creates tension. And tension is not the enemy. Avoiding it is. Most people wait until life forces a restart. They wait for burnout. They wait for failure. They wait for loss. They wait for a breaking point. But you don't have to wait for collapse to choose change. Feeling stuck is an early warning system. It appears before damage. It appears before breakdown. It appears while you still have options. That is why this moment, before 2026 ends, is so important. You are not being punished. You are being invited. Invited to pause. Invited to reflect. Invited to redesign. But a restart does not begin with dramatic action. It begins with honest observation. You must be willing to look at your life without lying to yourself. Not with judgment, with clarity. Ask yourself questions you've been avoiding. Which parts of my life feel heavy instead of meaningful? Which routines drain me instead of building me? Which habits keep me busy, but not fulfilled? These questions feel uncomfortable because they remove excuses, but they also give you power. Feeling stuck often comes with another dangerous belief. I don't know what I want. Most people think this means they are lost. In reality, it usually means something else. You don't know what you want because you've been living on autopilot for too long. You've been responding instead of choosing, reacting instead of designing. When you live reactively, desire goes quiet. A restart is about switching from reaction to intention. You don't need a perfect vision for your future. You need a direction away from what no longer works. Clarity often comes after movement, not before. People delay restarting because they want certainty. Certainty is rare. Progress is available. Feeling stuck does not mean you need to blow up your life. It means you need to adjust how you live inside it. Small changes create big shifts. Changing how you start your day. Changing what you consume mentally. Changing what you say yes to. These are not dramatic moves, but they break the pattern of repetition. Repetition is what creates stuckness. The same thoughts, the same habits, the same reactions. A restart begins the moment you interrupt that loop. Another reason people fear this feeling is because it forces responsibility. If you admit you are stuck, you must admit that continuing the same way is a choice. That realization is uncomfortable. It is easier to blame time, people, or circumstances. But blaming removes power. Ownership restores it. You may not control where you are today, but you control what you repeat next. That is the core of a restart. Before 2026 ends, you don't need to fix your entire life. You need to stop ignoring the signal. The signal is your dissatisfaction. Not all dissatisfaction is bad. Some dissatisfaction is guidance. It tells you where growth is needed. It tells you where alignment is missing. It tells you where your future self is asking for change. If you listen now, change can be calm and intentional. If you ignore it, change becomes chaotic and forced. That is the difference between a restart and a breakdown. A restart is chosen. A breakdown is endured. Right now, you are still in the window of choice. You have time to reflect instead of react. You have time to design instead of escape. You have time to restart gently. Feeling stuck does not mean you are behind. It means you are standing at a crossroads. One path leads to repetition. The other leads to redesign. Both paths are available. Only one requires courage. And courage does not mean fearlessness. It means honesty. Honesty about what no longer fits. Honesty about what you are tired of tolerating. Honesty about what you want to stop repeating. In the next segment, you will learn why most people repeat the same year again and again, and how to break that cycle before 2026 becomes just another copy of the past. Segment 3. Why most people repeat the same year. Again and again. Most people believe time changes their life. They think a new year will bring new energy. They think age brings wisdom. They think experience automatically creates growth. But if time alone created change, everyone would improve every year. That doesn't happen. Instead, most people quietly repeat the same year, again and again, just with different dates on the calendar. Same routines, same habits, same problems, same conversations, same frustrations. The reason is simple, but uncomfortable to accept. People don't repeat years because they want to. They repeat years because they live on autopilot. Autopilot feels harmless. It feels efficient. It feels safe. You wake up, follow routines, react to demands, and go to sleep. Days pass quickly. Weeks blur together. And before you realize it, another year is gone. Not because you wasted it, but because you never consciously lived it. Autopilot is not laziness. It is default behavior. Your brain loves default behavior because it saves energy. Thinking deeply, choosing intentionally, and changing habits require effort. Repeating what you already know feels easier, so your brain keeps you comfortable, not fulfilled. This is why many people feel busy but unaccomplished. They are doing a lot, but choosing very little. Repeating years often starts with repeating mornings. How you start your day sets the direction for everything that follows. When mornings are rushed, distracted, or reactive, the rest of the day follows the same pattern. Scroll, rush, react, recover, repeat. And when days repeat, years repeat. Another reason people repeat years is emotional avoidance. There are thoughts people avoid thinking, decisions they avoid making, conversations they avoid having. Avoidance feels like peace in the short term. In the long term, it becomes stagnation. So, instead of addressing dissatisfaction, people distract themselves. Entertainment replaces reflection. Busyness replaces direction. Comfort replaces growth. The problem is not that people don't want change. The problem is that they want change without discomfort. Real change always involves discomfort, at least temporarily. It involves admitting something is not working. It involves letting go of familiar patterns. It involves choosing uncertainty over predictability. Most people delay that moment. They say, "Next year will be different." They say, "I'll start when things slow down." They say, "Now is not the right time." And those sentences quietly repeat every year. Another powerful reason people repeat the same year is identity attachment. People don't just repeat habits, they repeat self-images. "I'm just not disciplined." "I've always been like this." "This is who I am." These identities feel permanent, but they are not facts. They are stories repeated so often that they feel true. When you repeat an identity, you repeat the behavior connected to it. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles, you will unconsciously recreate struggle. If you see yourself as someone who never finishes, you will stop before completion. Change becomes difficult not because it is impossible, but because it threatens identity. Restarting your life before 2026 ends requires questioning these stories. Not aggressively, not harshly, honestly. You must ask yourself, which version of me am I repeating? Repeating the same year also happens because people confuse intention with action. They intend to change. They plan to improve. They imagine a better version of themselves. But intention without structure changes nothing. Structure is what breaks repetition. Structure decides when you wake up. Structure decides what you consume. Structure decides what you practice daily. Without structure, motivation comes and goes. Motivation feels exciting, but it is unreliable. This is why New Year's resolutions fail. They rely on emotion instead of design. Emotion fades, design stays. Repeating years also happens because people overestimate what can be done in a week and underestimate what can be done in a year. They expect fast results. When results are slow, they quit. And quitting brings them back to the starting point. Then the cycle repeats. A restart requires patience. Not endless patience, but realistic patience. You are not trying to change your life in a month. You are trying to change your direction. Direction compounds. A 1-degree shift today creates a massive difference over time. But that shift must be maintained. Another hidden reason people repeat years is tolerance. People tolerate lives they would never choose intentionally. They tolerate exhaustion. They tolerate misalignment. They tolerate environments that drain them. Tolerance becomes normal. And what becomes normal stops triggering change. A restart begins when you stop tolerating what you know is costing you energy, time, or self-respect. Not everything needs to change, but something must. Repeating years is rarely caused by one big mistake. It is caused by hundreds of small compromises. You compromise your sleep. You compromise your focus. You compromise your priorities. Each compromise feels small. Together, they create stagnation. The good news is this: if small compromises create repetition, small decisions can create transformation. You don't need a dramatic plan. You need a clear interruption. Interrupt the pattern of autopilot. Interrupt how you start your day. Interrupt what you give attention to. Interrupt how you talk to yourself. Before 2026 ends, you have enough time to stop repeating. Not by becoming extreme, but by becoming intentional. The year does not need to change for your life to change. You do. Most people repeat the same year because they never stop to ask one powerful question. Am I designing my life or just reacting to it? Once you ask that question honestly, repetition becomes visible. And what becomes visible can be changed. In the next segment, you will learn how to create a personal reset without burning everything down, and how small, deliberate changes can create a full life restart before 2026 arrives. Segment 4. How to restart your life without burning everything down. When people hear the word restart, they imagine extremes. They imagine quitting their job overnight. They imagine cutting everyone off. They imagine moving to a new place and starting from zero. Because of this, many people never restart at all. They believe that if they can't change everything, they shouldn't change anything. That belief keeps them stuck. A real restart does not require destruction. It requires redirection. You don't burn your life down. You reorganize it. Most lives don't need to be destroyed. They need to be restructured. And restructuring starts with understanding one simple truth. Your life is the result of what you do daily, not what you decide occasionally. Big decisions feel powerful, but daily behavior determines reality. This is why dramatic changes often fail. They rely on emotion, not sustainability. A restart that lasts is built quietly. It begins with how you wake up, how you use your time, how you manage your energy, and how you speak to yourself. The first step in a restart is removing what drains you before adding what improves you. Most people rush to add new habits. They want to wake up earlier, exercise more, read more, work harder, learn new skills. But they forget something important. If your life is already overloaded, adding more will break you. Before you add discipline, you must remove friction. Look at your daily life honestly. What drains your energy every day? What steals your focus without giving anything back? What habits keep you busy but not better? These are the first things to adjust. A restart begins with subtraction, less scrolling, less reacting, less unnecessary commitments. This creates space, and space is required for change. Once space exists, direction becomes clearer. Another mistake people make is trying to restart in every area at once: career, health, relationships, mindset, finances. They attack everything and sustain nothing. A real restart chooses one anchor area, one area that, if improved, improves everything else. For some people, it is sleep. For others, it is morning routine. For others, it is focus or self-discipline. Choose one. Not forever, just for now. This focus creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence, and confidence fuels expansion. Another key part of restarting without burning down your life is learning how to keep what works. Not everything in your current life is wrong. Some routines support you. Some people support you. Some habits are stable foundations. A restart does not mean rejecting your past. It means upgrading it. You keep the structures that serve you and redesign the ones that don't. This mindset removes guilt. You are not betraying your old self. You are responding to growth. Growth requires adjustment. Another important part of a sustainable restart is lowering expectations, not standards. Expectations. Expectations about speed. Expectations about clarity. Expectations about motivation. A restart is not a straight line. Some days you will feel focused. Some days you will feel distracted. Both days count if you continue. Progress does not require intensity. It requires continuity. Many people quit restarts because they expect instant results. When results are slow, they assume something is wrong. But slow progress is still progress. And slow progress builds stronger foundations. A restart also requires boundaries. Not aggressive boundaries, clear ones. You must decide what you will no longer tolerate. Tolerating misalignment is what keeps lives stuck. This could be tolerating late nights that ruin your mornings, tolerating conversations that drain you, tolerating self-talk that keeps you small. Boundaries are not punishments. They are protection. They protect the version of you that is trying to grow. Another critical part of restarting without destruction is replacing self-criticism with observation. Most people restart from a place of self-hate. I'm lazy. I wasted my life. I messed everything up. That mindset creates pressure. Pressure creates burnout. A restart fueled by shame will not last. A restart fueled by clarity will. Instead of judging yourself, observe. What patterns repeat? What triggers distraction? What times of day are strongest? Observation gives you data. Data gives you power. With power, you can redesign gently. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are responding to new awareness. Before 2026 ends, you do not need to create a perfect life. You need to create a different rhythm. A rhythm that supports energy instead of draining it. A rhythm that aligns with who you are now, not who you used to be. This rhythm will not appear overnight, but it will appear if you protect it daily. One boundary, one habit, one intentional decision. That is how restarts succeed. In the next segment, you will learn how to build momentum that lasts and why momentum, not motivation, is the key to restarting your life before 2026 ends. Segment 5. How to build momentum that actually lasts. Most people don't fail to restart their life because they lack desire. They fail because they rely on motivation. Motivation feels powerful at the beginning. It gives energy. It creates urgency. It makes everything feel possible. But motivation is unstable. It depends on mood. It depends on sleep. It depends on how life treats you that day. When motivation fades, and it always does, most restarts collapse. That is why momentum matters more than motivation. Momentum does not come from feeling inspired. Momentum comes from continuing even when you don't feel like it. And the good news is this: momentum does not require huge effort. It requires consistency at a level you can sustain. Most people try to restart their life by doing too much too fast. They change their schedule completely. They overload their days. They raise standards overnight. This feels productive, but it is fragile. When life interrupts, everything falls apart. Real momentum is built differently. It starts small. It stays simple. It repeats. Momentum grows when your actions are easy enough to repeat on bad days. If you can only maintain a habit on good days, it is not a habit yet. It is a mood-dependent activity. A restart that lasts is designed for low-energy days. This is where most people get it wrong. They plan for their best self. They ignore their tired self. And the tired self is the one who decides your future. So momentum begins with choosing actions that feel almost too easy. 5 minutes instead of 1 hour. One habit instead of 5. One decision repeated daily instead of constant change. These small actions may feel insignificant, but they compound. Momentum is invisible at first. You don't feel it on day 1. You barely notice it in week 1. But your brain notices repetition, and repetition builds trust. When you keep small promises to yourself, something important happens. your self-trust increases. Self-trust is the foundation of momentum. Without self-trust, every restart feels fake. You promise change, but don't believe yourself. With self-trust, action becomes easier. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop needing hype. You simply do what you said you would do. This is why momentum is psychological before it is practical. Another reason momentum matters more than motivation is that momentum creates identity change. You stop saying, "I'm trying to restart my life." You start saying, "This is just what I do now." Identity follows behavior. When you act consistently, even in small ways, your self-image updates. You become someone who keeps promises, someone who shows up, someone who follows through. That identity change is powerful, because once identity changes, behavior feels natural. This is also why momentum must be protected. Too many people sabotage momentum by constantly changing plans. They restart the restart. New system, new routine, new approach. This creates confusion. Momentum requires stability. You don't need the perfect system. You need a system you don't abandon. A simple plan executed consistently beats a perfect plan abandoned quickly. Another critical part of momentum is removing decision fatigue. Every decision costs energy. If you decide everything every day, you will burn out. Momentum thrives on automation. Same wake-up time, same morning structure, same daily anchor habit. Automation reduces resistance. Less thinking means more doing. This is especially important before 2026 ends. You don't need a complex life reset. You need predictable rhythms that support progress. Momentum also grows when you stop measuring progress emotionally. Some days you will feel good. Some days you will feel behind. Feelings fluctuate. Momentum does not care. Progress is not how you feel. It is what you repeat. If you show up consistently, momentum is building, even if you don't feel it yet. This is why people quit too early. They expect visible results before momentum has time to compound. Momentum is quiet at first, but once it builds, it becomes powerful. You stop forcing yourself. You stop relying on willpower. You move naturally. This is when restarting your life stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like direction. Another important part of momentum is forgiveness. Not forgiving others, forgiving yourself. You will miss days. You will break streaks. You will slip into old habits sometimes. This does not destroy momentum unless you let it. Momentum is lost not when you slip, but when you quit. One bad day does not erase progress. Quitting does. So the rule is simple. Never miss twice. Miss once. Resume immediately. This keeps momentum alive. Momentum is not perfection. It is recovery speed. How fast you return matters more than how often you fall. Before 2026 ends, momentum is your greatest ally. You don't need massive transformation. You need steady direction. Direction compounds. A small habit maintained for months will change how you think, act, and see yourself. And once momentum is established, restarting your life no longer feels dramatic. It feels normal. It feels like alignment. In the next segment, you will learn how to redesign your daily life so the restart becomes permanent, and how to make sure you don't slide back into autopilot once motivation fades. Segment 6. Redesigning your daily life so the restart becomes permanent. Most restarts fail quietly, not because people stop caring, not because they lose hope, but because they return to the same daily structure that created the problem. You can feel inspired, you can build momentum, you can even change habits for a while. But if your daily life stays the same, the old version of you eventually comes back. This is why redesigning your daily life matters more than motivation, goals, or plans. Your day is your real life, not your intentions, not your future dreams, your average day. If your average day pulls you toward distraction, exhaustion, and reaction, then no mindset video or motivational burst will save you. A permanent restart requires one thing above all else: a daily structure that supports the person you are becoming. This does not mean strict schedules or rigid routines. It means intentional defaults. Defaults are what happen when you stop thinking. Right now, your defaults might look like this. You wake up and reach for your phone. You react to messages before your mind is awake. You rush into the day already behind. You end the day tired but unsatisfied. These defaults were not chosen. They happened gradually. And what happens gradually feels permanent until you change it deliberately. Redesigning your daily life starts with mornings. Not because mornings are magical, but because mornings decide direction. The first hour of your day tells your brain what matters. If the first hour is reactive, the whole day follows that pattern. A restart does not require a perfect morning routine. It requires one protected behavior in the morning. One thing you do before the world reaches you. This could be silence, movement, writing, planning, thinking. The activity matters less than the boundary. That boundary says, "My life does not start with reaction." That single message reshapes your identity. Another part of redesigning your day is managing energy, not time. Most people manage time and wonder why they still feel exhausted. Energy is the real currency. You may have time but no energy. You may be busy but unfocused. A permanent restart asks a better question. What gives me energy? And what drains it? You already know the answer. You just haven't acted on it. Certain habits drain you every day. Certain inputs exhaust your mind. Certain environments pull you down. A restart becomes permanent when you stop ignoring these drains. Not all at once. One by one. Reducing energy drains creates space for growth. Another critical redesign is how you handle evenings. Evenings quietly determine tomorrow. What you consume at night shapes how you wake up. Scrolling late, consuming noise, staying mentally overstimulated. These habits don't feel harmful, but they steal clarity. A restart doesn't require early bedtime perfection. It requires a shutdown ritual, something that signals the day is complete. When your brain knows when to stop, it recovers faster. Recovery is not laziness. Recovery is preparation. People who never shut down never restart fully. Another overlooked part of daily redesign is environment. Your environment trains your behavior silently. If your phone is always in your hand, distraction wins. If your workspace is chaotic, focus suffers. If your surroundings encourage comfort over growth, habits follow. You don't need to change your life. You need to change what your life nudges you toward. Small environmental changes create big behavioral shifts. Put friction between you and bad habits. Put ease between you and good ones. Design beats willpower. Another reason restarts fade is because people rely on memory instead of systems. They try to remember what they promised themselves. Memory is unreliable. Systems remember for you. Write things down, set reminders, create visible cues, not because you are weak, but because you are human. Humans forget. Systems compensate. A permanent restart removes the need to constantly try harder. Trying harder burns energy. Designing better conserves it. Another crucial part of daily redesign is internal dialogue. How you talk to yourself during the day determines whether progress sticks. If your inner voice is harsh, you will rebel. If it is forgiving, you will continue. Most people sabotage restarts with constant self-criticism. I should be doing more. I'm still behind. I'm not changing fast enough. That voice creates pressure. Pressure leads to avoidance. A permanent restart requires a different voice, one that is firm but fair, accountable but not abusive. You don't need to attack yourself to improve. You need to guide yourself. Consistency comes from safety, not fear. Another important redesign is redefining productivity. Most people measure productivity by how busy they are. Busy feels important, but it often leads nowhere. A restart asks a sharper question. What moved my life forward today? Some days the answer is small. Some days it is invisible. But asking that question daily keeps you intentional. Intentional days compound. Autopilot days repeat. A permanent restart also requires reducing exposure to noise. Too many opinions, too much content, too many voices telling you who to be. Noise creates confusion. Confusion weakens commitment. You don't need more input. You need more integration. This means fewer sources, but deeper engagement, less consumption, more reflection. Reflection is where direction forms. Before 2026 ends, your restart does not need to be dramatic. It needs to be designed. Designed mornings, designed energy, designed environments, designed self-talk. These designs remove reliance on motivation. And once motivation is no longer required, change becomes stable. Stability is the goal. Not excitement, not intensity. Stability is what turns a restart into a lifestyle. When your days support growth naturally, you don't need constant effort. Growth becomes normal. In the final segment, you will understand how to protect this restart long-term, how to avoid sliding back into autopilot, and how to carry this new direction into 2026 without pressure or burnout. Segment 7. Carry this restart into 2026 without losing yourself. There is a quiet danger that appears after every restart. It is not failure. It is not lack of effort. It is forgetting why you started. Most people don't fall back because they are weak. They fall back because life gets busy again. Old routines creep in. Old priorities reclaim space. Old habits feel comfortable. And slowly, without noticing, people return to autopilot. This final segment is not about starting again. It is about protecting what you've built. A real restart is not a moment. It is a direction. And directions must be defended. The biggest mistake people make after gaining momentum is relaxing structure too early. They think, I've changed now. They think, I don't need these routines anymore. But routines are not training wheels. They are anchors. You don't remove anchors while the sea is still moving. Life will always test your structure. Stress, unexpected events, emotional lows, busy seasons. These moments do not destroy progress unless you remove the systems that support you. Protecting your restart means protecting minimum standards, not extreme goals, not perfection. Minimum standards. What is the smallest version of your habits that still keeps you aligned? Maybe it's 10 minutes of focus instead of an hour. Maybe it's one healthy choice instead of a perfect day. Maybe it's one honest reflection instead of full planning. Minimum standards keep you moving during hard times. They prevent collapse. Another reason people lose restarts is identity drift. They stop seeing themselves as someone who chooses intentionally. They go back to old labels. I'm just busy. I'll get back to it later. This phase is temporary. Those phrases sound harmless, but they reopen the door to autopilot. Protecting your restart requires reinforcing your new identity. You are no longer someone waiting for life to change. You are someone who designs life deliberately. That identity must be repeated. In your thoughts, in your language, in your decisions. Identity is not claimed once. It is reinforced daily. Another crucial part of carrying this restart into 2026 is learning to adapt without quitting. Your restart will not always feel smooth. Some weeks will feel powerful. Some weeks will feel slow. Some weeks will feel messy. That does not mean the restart is failing. It means life is dynamic. The people who maintain change are not those who feel consistent. They are those who adjust without abandoning. When something stops working, you tweak it. You don't burn it down. This mindset prevents the all-or-nothing trap. All-or-nothing thinking kills long-term change. One bad week does not erase progress. One missed habit does not end a restart. Progress is not fragile if you treat it correctly. Another hidden danger is overexpansion. After some success, people add too much too fast. New goals, new habits, new responsibilities. This overload recreates burnout. Growth must be paced. Protecting your restart means saying no, even to good things. Not everything that feels productive is aligned. Alignment matters more than ambition. Before adding anything new, ask, does this support the life I'm building, or distract from it? This question keeps direction clear. Another powerful protector of change is reflection. Not deep analysis. Simple check-ins. Once a week, ask yourself, what worked? What didn't? What needs adjustment? This keeps your restart responsive instead of rigid. Rigid systems break. Responsive systems evolve. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Without reflection, you repeat mistakes. With reflection, you refine direction. Another critical part of long-term change is self-respect. Self-respect grows when you keep promises to yourself, and it fades when you break them repeatedly. Protect your self-respect by setting promises you can keep. Small promises kept consistently build a strong internal foundation. That foundation supports everything else. This is why your restart should never be about proving anything to others. It is not about success metrics. It is not about appearance. It is about trust with yourself. When you trust yourself, decision-making becomes easier. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop second-guessing direction. Trust simplifies life. Carrying this restart into 2026 also means redefining success. Success is not constant productivity. Success is alignment. Some days, alignment means rest. Some days, it means effort. Some days, it means saying no. A balanced restart includes recovery. Burnout is not ambition. Burnout is mismanagement. If you ignore recovery, your restart will eventually collapse. Rest is not a reward. It is maintenance. Finally, remember this. You do not need to become someone else. You do not need a dramatic transformation. You need to become consistent with who you already know you should be. The version of you that wanted this restart is not imaginary. It already exists. Your job is not to create it. Your job is to protect it. Protect it with boundaries. Protect it with structure. Protect it with honesty. As 2026 approaches, don't rush. Rushing recreates chaos. Move steadily. Adjust calmly. Continue deliberately. If you do that, something powerful happens. You don't enter 2026 hoping for change. You enter 2026 already changed. Not perfect, not finished, but aligned. And alignment is what makes life feel meaningful. This is not the end of your restart. It is the beginning of living intentionally, without waiting for another year to give you permission. You already gave it to yourself.